Feedback is incredibly precious because it's the only way that we can understand the impact of our behavior on other people. There really is no other way. We're so focused on what we intended with our behavior and not at all connected to what the impact was. So when you are generous enough to share with somebody how their behavior impacted you, you are doing such a good thing. I think ultimately enhancing trust, making your team more constructive. But sometimes you have to share that someone's behavior had a negative impact on you. And negative feedback is super uncomfortable because I bet you're a nice person. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and you definitely don't want to trigger them to get all emotional and yuck. So knowing how to deliver negative feedback well in a way that's going to be useful and constructive and not trigger emotions or defensiveness, it's really important. So let's go through the steps of how to give negative feedback constructively. The first step is to orient the person to the situation that you're talking about, because you've probably been thinking about it and ruminating on it, and they maybe haven't at all. So you want to start with just a quick statement that gets them to think about what you're talking about. So in our hallway conversation this morning, in the meeting that we had about the project charter, on the Zoom call, just something small so that they know what you're talking about. Second step, and this is the hardest and the most important step in negative feedback, is to translate from that judgment you're feeling. You're thinking, you excluded me. You don't think I can do my job. You were rude. We're thinking things that are judgments about the other person. You were disengaged. We're making a judgment about how they were feeling. None of those is going to be helpful in giving feedback. And really, frankly, you don't know what they were thinking or feeling. So you want to translate from the judgment into their behavior. So in the hallway conversation this morning, when you started talking about Frank, when Frank wasn't there, that's the behavior. Now you can go to the new information, the valuable information in this piece of feedback, which is the information about how their behavior landed with you. So in our hallway conversation this morning, when you started talking about Frank when Frank wasn't there, I felt really uncomfortable that I was talking behind Frank's back, that I was gossiping, and I really am not comfortable with those kinds of conversations. Now, the final step is to ask a question, to invite them to share their truth with you. And that makes feedback a dialogue. Great feedback is about you sharing your truth and them sharing theirs. Great feedback is about two truths, not just one. So you might say something like, in our hallway conversation this morning, when you mentioned Frank when he wasn't there, I started feeling really uncomfortable that this was kind of gossip. What was going through your head? What was your goal in talking to me about this? And maybe the person just says, I'm so sorry, that's not how I want to show up. Or I was just venting, I was so frustrated. Or, oh, I guess I didn't do that well. What I really wanted was your help and your advice about how to talk to Frank. So this situation where you start with orienting them, then you translate from judgment into behavior, you share the impact, expose how that made you feel or what it made you think, and then you invite them to share their truth. That is a perfectly crafted piece of feedback, and that's what we need a lot more of in this world. What's one message you want to share with somebody? What's an interaction you had that isn't sitting with you? What's something a person did in their work that you think could be so much better? And how do you frame it in this way so that you're more objective about their behavior, but much more subjective and open and candid about the impact of their behavior? Go give it a try.